Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. We are here to basically tell you everything you need to know about needle felting and answer questions. I'm surrounded by so many things.
A lot of things. You're trapped.
Kyla, for one.
Ooh, nice sound.
Looks so cool. I gotta change its color temperature. It's great.
We look like half black and white.
Also, do people hear sound? That's what I need to know.
Can you hear us?
I heard. Yeah.
It's always a little bumpy, the start of going live. We have things hooked up.
Like a
I
flight.
am really tucked in though. I have all these things to show off, but then like no
You have
space
no
to do
space.
it. So, um,
We're quiet today. Can the mic get a bit closer?
the mic is actually closer than it usually is. I don't know if maybe it's not picking up, and we're on the camera. Talbot's looking.
The gain.
They
can
said
hear,
people
yeah.
said sound is good, so maybe it's a
Well, up to
maybe it's a personal thing.
I'm using gain like I know what that is.
I don't know what gain or decibels are.
Little bit of llama excitement.
Oh, someone spotted the llama. We are we're sharing because for the first time in quite a while, I am making a supply pack and tutorial straight up. So I've been working on him, and so I thought it'd be fun to show him off.
No fiber fairy. Not tied to a fiber fairy or anything. Just
Right.
like
Right.
a new thing.
Yeah, the color is a little, we look a little stark.
Yeah.
It's like you're in some sort of moody film.
I mean, we're about to get a huge
It does
snow
kind of
and
have
ice
that vibe.
storm.
I
We
have,
have, yeah.
I just was complaining to my coworkers that I feel very dim, and I'm blaming the barometric pressure. The
Yes,
change,
we have-
whatever's changing.
We have some weather on the way.
So we put out, some feelers for what to talk about today and got some good responses. I want to start with people who are new to needle felting and new to Serafina fiber art and answer any questions regarding those things before we get into armatures and more specific questions. I use my laptop a lot when I'm looking at things, but I know that a lot of people are using phones and tablets. So on our website, when you open the homepage, across the top on the laptop is all of our categories: felting supplies, needle felting for beginners, free tutorials, and they just go right across. But on the phone, you've got to click into the three lines. Kyla calls it the hamburger to see.
Talbot called it the hamburger. I know
The-
it's right.
The
'cause
official
Talbot
word
called
is
it
the
a
hamburger to see all of those things. Because when I did ask on Fanfare, what do you guys want to know? A lot of it was stuff. Not a lot. I was just surprised how much was stuff we've done and we've gone over. And I was just looking on the free tutorials page, and in a minute I'll have once we're all settled, have Talbot do a screen share. And there's so on the free tutorials page, you click that, and then it shows felt alongs. I can't remember how it's live streams, series, things without supply
Techniques.
packs, techniques. And you just click into any one of those. At felt alongs, there were 33 different felt alongs. I kind of can't believe we've done that many, because they started in the pandemic, which was 5 years.
I think
That's a lot.
maybe there's so much when people are new that they're not even totally sure where to start.
Right.
Because it's a lot of
Right.
information. So,
And a lot of the questions too were about wires and fiber. And at the on our website, we have needle felting for beginners. It's its own whole page. And it has a video all about fiber. It has this cool infographic. I'm going to hold it up because this infographic is on there. Kyla made it, and it talks about all the fiber types. You can see that on there. I'm happy to go over and answer anything.
well, and I made that based on
The video.
the video that's in the Needle Felting for Beginners page that talks all about the different kinds of wool between the form, whether it's roving or bad or whatever, and then when to use it and what that's based off of. So we tried to make a visual representation of what Sarah presented in that. So,
Okay. So the
if you
video is
haven't-
the
yeah, and if you haven't looked at that or downloaded it, I would print that off. It's a handy reference, and a lot of people were asking questions that are addressed there.
okay. Someone said wire lengths. Can we get where did I see that? Can we get the wire lengths put with the supply pack descriptions?
So wire lengths are on the when you go into tutorial series, like if you go in to the turtle at the very top, it lists the different wires that you need and the wire lengths.
So it's not necessarily in the turtle supply pack description.
No, we don't put exact wire lengths. We
It's-
don't put like lists of exact fibers and stuff too. I
Right.
guess the wire lengths don't change. Sometimes we have to change the
Sometimes
fibers because the fibers change on us. So we don't have that
Yeah.
listed. It's just unfortunately ever changing. Sometimes it feels like so.
And I tried to do at the beginning of the tutorial all of that. I might, if we're using a supply pack, I might say something like your shorter wire and your longer wire because we're using a supply pack. So I'll try to be better about saying every wire length. But what Kyla's saying is that this free tutorials page that I'm talking about on the website, if you go, actually, can we screen share? So we're gonna screen share the website,
Which tab?
the free tutorials.
Ooh,
And
there's
then
a lot.
Talbot's in control of it, and then I have like a 10-second delay. So
There's
this
a lot
is
of good questions.
gonna be yeah. I know do we need to write them down? I do have, you know what I mean, so they don't get. So on the free tutorials, there's a list on the page. So if you go into tutorial, well, click into techniques and methods first. And then, so right in techniques and methods are all the ones that we made that are just short technique or method specific things, like wrapping on the Zoli tool, or I think we made one for the face ace. Making knots, making tiny toes, making hooves. There's a ton of detailed information in those. Okay, and then if you, Talbot, go back to the series, tutorial series, we'll click in one of those and I think we'll see where the wire lengths are.
No, like something with a supply pack.
something with a supply pack.
Carolina.
Okay.
Yep, that's the one. Doesn't say lengths for the cloth wrap.
Well,
Well,
they
the
are.
cloth wrapped wires are always 18 inches. All right, so on the, yeah. So Kyla really tries to keep up with what information is where. But that's where you're going to see the wires for.
Oh, Barnow just takes me to the tutorial.
If you click into the description, are the wire lengths on the barn owl?
From the video.
Oh, like so on the YouTube
On
video.
the YouTube description.
Yes. So you'll see.
Another way to access videos is through the YouTube channel. So if you're actually on YouTube, search, are they there?
The wire lengths are
Okay,
there.
so on that one, the wire lengths are on the YouTube video. So if you're actually on YouTube, from YouTube Talbot, search Serafina Fiber Art and we'll show them the channel, like the page. And then on that page, you could just click videos and it'll show you all of the videos we've made. Or there's a tab called playlists. And we have our videos broken down into, you know, fiber fairies and live streams and just for fun. And so there's a lot of ways to reach the videos that you're looking for.
You don't do YouTube. We do YouTube. We do YouTube now.
Maybe she meant I don't do YouTube. I don't know. But YouTube is where
I don't do YouTube.
I mean, yeah, YouTube is where we have all of our videos are linked through YouTube. That's the format that we use.
Yeah, so the main questions.
Are you near tissues? I'm sorry.
One. You get one tissue.
That's perfect. That's all I need. Okay, let's
I'm showing the needle felting page for beginners.
okay. Yes, needle felting page for beginners. Definitely take a look at that. The video is embedded right into the page, and in that video I try to go over pretty much everything about fiber I can think of, and there's that infographic.
Do we have any videos for 2D felting?
Yes, we have several videos for 2D felting. We have some that are wet felting and some that are needle felting and some that are a combination of both. So on our YouTube channel, is that a playlist?
I don't know if 2D is under the tutorial series.
Under the tutorial
There's a
series.
whole list of 2D at the beginning, which they show up at the top because it's alphabetized and the 2 shows up.
So under tutorial series on the website, level 1 to 2, the first ones are all the 2D.
Okay. And it specifies if it's wet felted.
Oh, the color's better, Talbot. Thank you. I look less dead.
So there were a few questions.
Okay.
Oh my, I love YouTube. I can watch a giant Sarah and Kyla. So that's happening on your TV. Yes. Someone asked, there were a couple questions about needle type and then multi-needle tools.
I'm not the best needle leader because I don't color my needles. Well, we can go overhead, Talbot. I just keep them in my stabit like this. Sometimes I put my twists and my finer needles on one side and my stronger needles on the other side. I use the pink pen tool a lot, and I have two 38 gauge needles in it. 3 feels like too much for me, and I like to, because I can go along the line of a wire and get right next to it because they're in a line. 3 are in a triangle, and it's a lot of grab. The cherry handheld tool also holds 3, 1, or 2, and I usually just keep 1 in there. It's nice. Just this lid comes off, and I love cherry. It darkens as it ages and as you use it. These are very cleverly made. The needles slide right down in, just like the pen tool. Oops, and then the hardware screws on.
So you can choose how many you want.
You can choose how many you want in this as well. And what I like about this, well, first of all, it's wood, and I just love wood. But I can put my finger over it, and it's a different grip than holding the pen tool. Just changes. It's good to change what you're doing with your hands. And then sometimes I don't keep a different holder for my fine needle, so I just use my fine needle just the way it is because I don't use it very often. So what we carry is 36 is the strongest gauge. It's the opposite. As the numbers go up, they become more fine. And then 38, and then 40, and we also have a 42. Mainly I'm using 30 sorry, I'm kicking a bag. 38s almost all the time. I use the 40 twist when I'm doing like a little eye, something that I want the needle to felt the wool, but I don't want to alter the shape too much because a 38 will have more impact. And if I keep stabbing, things are going to get, really dented. And then the 42 is even finer. So you do have that option on little things like lines and noses and stuff like that.
Do you pay attention to whether it's triangle, crown, star?
We only carry certain ones, so I like the ones that we carry, so that's what I use. I think on our needle descriptions we do say whether it's a star or a triangle. I rarely use 36. They have a lot of grab. So if I'm doing maybe something really big or something that I really want to tack a shape on and get it stuck without a ton of effort, I'll use the 36.
There's some good commentary happening in the chat. So
Okay.
if you're watching this, especially like a replay, and make sure the comments are on, because like one person's saying they just keep them in different areas on their felting surface. Some people have multiple pen tools.
You could tape them.
Yeah. So like someone has a reverse.
My reverse pen tool, I don't have it out. It has a piece of tape on it, so I know it's my reverse. I do not like the feeling of pulling a reverse tool out of the burlap, so I don't keep it in my burlap. But then, so the pen tool is probably one or the other of these is high on my list of beginner supplies. My beginner supplies are needle sampler set, which has 2 of every gauge, a stab it felting surface. We have this size, and then we have the mega, which is more like 14 inches, and the pen tool and the Zuli tool, which I brought one up. 1 second. So these are the things that I use the most. Now the Face Ace is definitely in
Oh
a
yeah.
very close second to the Zuli tool because this was made first, so it's in more tutorials. But the face ace,
I see it. It's
where?
there. I see it. It's like in going.
Oh,
towards
the
that.
other
Do you see
way.
it?
Yes, going the wrong way. The face ace is a tapered and thinner tool that we use the same way. And because of the taper, depending on where you wrap your fiber and how, you can make all kinds of little features. And we have a tutorial, it should be in the techniques and methods, just about making shapes on the face ace. It's super, super handy. You can go wider, thinner, leave fringe, make a ball, make a log, make ears, make eyebrows. I mean, just all kinds of things.
Somebody, there's two different questions. Somebody asked about, can we have like a what's new section? Which then, like, when do you decide
It's
what's
not new.
no longer new? So I did check. If you go straight to our YouTube channel, when you're on the videos, you can choose if you want to do oldest, most popular, newest. So that will automatically, if you choose newest, that's automatically going to show you what the most recent videos are.
It's kind of a fun idea for the site. 10 years ago, I was generating a lot of new tools. Now we're working more on changing out fibers and new supply packs and stuff like that. But
Yes,
it's a fun idea.
She just said she didn't want to miss
Yeah,
like the latest tutorial.
I like that. I like that idea. And fiber too, because we try to keep things consistent as possible, but as you guys have heard me say, the mills close or they discontinue things, and so it is a little bit of a revolving door of fiber. So that could be a good use for that page as well.
Another question. Now, this is coming from someone in Iceland. She uses wax. She's saying she mixes it like swax, but if it's not swax, I don't know that we're going to be able to answer your question. Can I harden my elves and gnomes' fingers with a fabric stiffener after wax?
I would do so Power Tex is what we sell for. It is a fabric stiffener, and it will turn fabric like rock hard and outdoor safe. And I would do wax after that. Oh,
There
sorry.
we are.
Okay, there we go.
In front.
I would do wax after that.
But if you're using wax and it's not swax, in general, something like that, I would try it on not your finished gnome fingers and see what the fiber does before you apply it to something finished.
Yeah, we get
Test it
a
out.
lot of questions about when to use wax and when to use power wax and when to use impasto or power tex. Some have overlap, but they all have like slightly different characteristics. And so some experimentation, I'd say, is good to do because then you're understanding how it works for you and the results that you want.
Especially if it's a wax that you're getting on your own that's not swax, because we can't speak to what that's going to do. You're warm.
Yeah, now I'm warm. I was cold. Now I'm warm.
Okay. I think that was someone saying, do you have instructions for sizing up?
Okay. I brought all the wires. I'm just going to show, we can go overhead, Talbot, and I'll show the wires and I'll talk about when to use which wires. So you might want to take notes because you know what I didn't bring was pipe cleaners, but that's okay.
Oh, I can grab that.
It's okay. All right, when I started needle felting, I was using chenille stems, 12 inches. and I was making just little ornaments.
Talbot's
Thanks,
running
Talbot.
with us.
And these are great for things that are about 3 inches tall. I was making little dogs. I mean, I was just here. I'll just show you. I was just making all kinds of things. But this was all I knew, and then someone asked me to make a centerpiece for Christmas of reindeer. I was like, oh, I gotta make them bigger and stronger. And so then I started experimenting with aluminum armature wire, which I was familiar with from sculpture, and like that a lot. It's easy on the hands. Some people use steel, and it's just, I think at one point I went out and grabbed some fence wire, and it's just hard. It's hard on the hands, and at a certain size, there's just not that much wool, and you don't want the wire overriding the wool, and you don't want the wool overriding the wire. Meaning, if the wire is so strong and you want this thing to be somewhat posable, and you're making something small and you've got this wool on it, but you have to like really force it, you might mess your wool up. Or if something's on the larger side, it's got a really thick body or neck, and you're using wimpy wire and you want to pose it, it's not going to pose because the wool is going to have its own idea about where it should be, and the wire's not going to override that. So everything has a size. So pipe cleaners, under 6 inches.
Can they rust? So,
3.
I mean, someone's saying the cheaper version definitely rusts. Do they all?
They're steel. These are
Okay.
really fine. I think they're steel. I guess they could rust. How? Yeah, you don't want to submerge it, or
Right. They're saying in a high humidity area.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's
And same with the floral wire could rust also.
okay.
Yeah. So then we have the cloth wrapped. It's a floral wire is where it comes from. And sorry, I thought I had, oh, you do. There they go. Okay. And we're carrying white and black. And we have a 22 gauge. And these are all 18 inches. A 26 gauge and a 32 gauge. 22 gauge, these will make nice 6-inch figures. We make the snail babies, the sprites. These are great flower stems. They have a good bit of holding power to them. The nice thing about the cloth covered is it grabs wool already. You could put, we sell a product called Tacky Wrap. It's not open, but it comes in this bag. And it's a little sticky, and you could rub that on there so that when you go to wrap your wool, it just stays nice and tight. The 26 gauge I like for support. I've been using these more and more than pipe cleaners as my second layer to my armature, and maybe horns, ears, just anything that you need a little build out without it being too crazy strong. And then the 32 is very fine. It doesn't have a lot of holding power. If you're making something really delicate that you need tiny little fingers, that's when I would use the 32 or bug legs or something like that. So all of these are 18 approximately. They should be 18 inches long. So they do have limiting factors in their length, which is fine because really you don't want to make anything bigger than what 18 inches can make anyway with this
It won't
stuff.
hold.
Yeah. So we carry two 14 gauge aluminum armature wires. We have 14 gauge, which comes in a length of 30 feet, and the 12 gauge, which comes in a length of 20 feet. I have the 14 gauge out here so that we can make an armature. 14 gauge is pretty much my constant. I can cut the wires to any length I need. I'm going to make figures up to like a human figure with two legs. I would go up to 12 inches. I might put a second wire in the legs, and things like the horse, the moose, I'll use 2 wires in the legs, but I'll use the 14 gauge. The 12 gauge is more of a stronger support for things like the raven, the owl, whenever you're going bigger and you need a stronger wire. One thing that I learned over the years, if you are going big, you want to challenge yourself, make something new, go big, twist more wires together rather than buying stronger gauge wire. I have used 9 gauge wire. I think there's 9 gauge wire in the giraffe. And it's still, you want to twist that together, because if you just go a stronger gauge wire and use it on its own, you're going to still, it's more prone to wire fatigue than the lower gauge wire. So it's better to have many wires.
When you say giraffe, you mean the
twisted together.
huge giraffe?
The big giraffe.
Not
Yeah.
a giraffe. Okay.
The big giraffe. Yep. So that is the wire overview. And we will come back to armatures in a bit.
Somebody asked if these are what the tutorials and kits make, size-wise.
Yes. Yes. So a lot of the things that I saw come up as suggestions are animals that we have tutorials for. I'll just go over those real quick. Some of them are our advanced tutorials. Those are on our website under paid. I believe the tab is paid, or online learning. Online learning. Then the drop down has the Serafina Annex. That's what we call the website that hosts our paid tutorials. Those advanced tutorials have a really nice setup. They're in courses, there's several videos, there's support material, armature drawings, reference material. We're charging for a reason. They're very involved, and they're a step up in what you're going to learn. So we do have the horse, we do have the elephant, we do have a dragon, we do have bears.
The dogs. Somebody asked about it.
We do have dogs. So the dog tutorial makes a hound, but I provide. Can you reach the borzoi and the bulldog? I don't know where the dachshund is. Oh, I think he got.
Did
He get
sold?
satied.
I don't think she ate a dog. That would be terrible.
I love him.
Yeah, he's got a good face.
Yeah, I love him. In the hound advanced course, I show a few different dog armatures, since there is so much variation in the way that dogs can be.
You teach, I think, 4 armatures in that
I
course.
Teach 4 armatures, but we only felt the
Fully
hound
complete.
all the way.
Somebody's saying, is there more online learning than the SD cards? We offer the SD cards because some people just have terrible
Bad
internet access. So the SD card we do our best to approximate on the SD card what the online course is. If you have good internet, if you're watching this right now, I would get the digital access. You can download the files, so you can download them and put them on your own SD card if you want. But the course is really nice because it walks you through the lessons, and the material is kind of all in the right spot that you need it as you get there, versus everything being on the card. It's just we designed the course for the online format, so
yeah, it's good. If you
flows.
haven't
Yeah.
checked that out, definitely check that out. There's a lot that goes into making those. And it's been a little while since I've made one. I'm going to try and make a new one this year.
Do you have a tutorial for the large 3D rooster?
I do not. That was a project that I did with the certified well, I did it for me and then did it with the certified instructors. Okay. Dragon. Yeah, the dragon's super fun. The dragon we did, I feel that was during the pandemic. I was developing that and I really enjoyed it because I'm not a fantasy creature person. And then I was having so much fun with the freedom of creating something that didn't have to look exactly, the way they're supposed to look. So somebody asked about prefelt. I did bring some samples of prefelt up. I'll show you what we carry and when I use it. Sure, that'd be great. Okay, we have a huge variety of merino prefelt. This is made with the same merino that we sell in bundles. It's on the thin side. I could pull it apart. I'm not going to pull this apart because it's a good piece, but I could maybe find some that I can pull apart. I would use this if I wanted to wet felt a skin or a feather, like a wing or a pelt of some kind. I've really been, if you've watched some of the advanced tutorials, I'm really into wet felting the skin and putting it on because it just looks, for a lot of things, it just looks really good. That's how I would use this. It's a little wimpy for a 2D needle felted project. I would maybe double it up if I was going to use it as a background. But that's that. And like I said, it comes in a huge array of colors. This is a piece of flat mat. Flat mat is relatively inexpensive. It's less expensive. It is a little bit more coarse wool. It will have a little bit of vegetable matter in it. This is not a high-end fine fiber product. It's like an industrial use product, but it is a really nice weight and it's a little bit more felted and it is has a nice thickness and structure to it. I'm sure there's some sort of like grams or something that you're supposed to say, but I don't know exactly what it is. So this we get it on this giant roll and cut it into, I forget what the length of the pieces are, but on the flat mat description, it's a big piece too. So if you're teaching a class or have a big project, this would be great. Oh, this is what I should use for the yurt.
Just as an aside, the yurt in your backyard.
Then we have the house carded pre-felt, and we had for a while a beautiful array of colors called Imprimatura, but they weren't selling super. They just took a lot to make. They're expensive and they weren't flying off the shelves. So we cut back on those. But this is the tan. We're doing tan and gray, and we still make the light purple house made pre-felt that goes into the 2D hair kit. Yeah, so these are nice when you want a certain color for, I'd say, a pelt. If I was making a lion, this would be a great thing to start with. It would also be nice for a wet felting background, which I've used in a lot of things. I think some of our tutorials have that as well, but these are all house made. So that's the pre-felt that we have right now. And a few of the ways to use them. Again, get some, experiment. watch, you'll see different things used in different tutorials. Like the merino prefelts, for example, if you wanted to cut out an ear shape, and then you already have that structure, a little bit of structure going on.
Ruth Lane made a full-size yurt.
Oh, I'll be in touch.
Jan Scott says, is Sarah making a yurt?
So I've moved, and there's a metal frame jungle gym in the yard. Like it's a dome. It's half of a sphere. It's made out of like metal triangles. And yeah, I thought I could just wrap it in wool and put a wood stove in the middle of it and some decking.
Just go be out there.
And go be out there. Put my pillows and my pelts. Because sometimes you just got to be somewhere else.
Can you purchase the purple prefelt separately? That's in the Rabbit 2D.
Is Sfumato for sale?
I don't know. We have tan and gray.
Tan and gray.
So somebody was asking if they do beginner tutorials, can they jump to a 3? I'm assuming because there's a level 3 project that they're really excited to do. So I was answering in here, but probably worth mentioning to everybody. When you teach a beginner project, you teach it very much like a beginner, kind of assuming
there's less knowledge.
Right. So once you get to a level 3, she may say to wrap this or make this shape and show it, but not fully
elaborate
it.
Right.
So that's kind of the point of the levels, is to get yourself to the place that you don't try to do a level 3 or 4 and you're not sure how to do what she's demonstrating. So if you get to that point and you like really want to try the foxes or whatever, I'd watch that tutorial and see, can I do that? Like, do I feel like I can handle?
Watching the tutorial is a great way to start to absorb information, see what's involved. You know where you are and what you're comfortable with. Watch, see how much I'm explaining, how much I'm not explaining. And then, you know what? Just do it anyway, because like not everything we make is going to be a super success. And I think that's a really important aspect of creativity in general, is having the beginner's mind. When I make something to share with you guys, I flop over and over again, and I discover as I go. And so what I'm presenting to you is what I learned through trial and error. And there's nothing, it's a great learning experience because the errors are still learning. So move up. But that is the difference, is complexity, not just complexity, but how much I explain. Like in a beginner video, I might say, hold your wool tight, keep your ribbon flat, keep your hands close together. Whereas in 3 or 4, I'm not saying all those things because I'm just saying wrap this wire because I expect that everybody has had that skill building.
Like a 12-hour tutorial for that. If you were to teach a level 3 or 4 project like a beginner, it would be forever. Someone's saying, can you walk through implanting roving into your batting, please? Not sure what that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Tutorial equals implanting roving. Okay. Not sure.
Implanting roving. So maybe the fur technique?
If that person can elaborate.
Yeah. If you can explain,
we'd
be happy to.
How firm should the core be? Using your core wool, does it come out firm or a bit spongy? The core wool I've been using only goes to a bit spongy.
I've gotten pretty good at wrapping tight enough that it's a consistency that I like without a ton of stabbing. I say that the shapes and the feel should kind of be like the real thing. So if you're making a cheekbone, in something, then I would make a pretty hard seed or shape for that so that it really represents and keeps its shape as a cheekbone. If I'm making a belly, then I might make a slightly softer shape depending on whose belly you're talking about. But it it's part personal preference too. I gather I'm not walking around touching all kinds of people's needle felting, but I think mine's on the softer side. Yeah. So we can go overhead and I could squeeze some things and see if it see if it translates.
They're saying I've overworked my batting so that by the time I try to put on roving, it's too tight. You do
Yeah.
not want to stab a ton. The way Sarah builds is a lot of wrapping with very little stabbing at first.
Yeah. And shapes too. Like if we make a shape on the Zuli tool or face ace, then don't stab it a ton because part of what it's doing is getting sculpted in place. And if this is all hard felted and then you've pre-felted your shape and you're trying to stick it together, it's not going to stick together. Wool only has so much felting that it will do. And so as we get into smaller and smaller shapes, then you got to be careful and not felt too much because it'll just run out of felt. So my faces always end up harder. They're tighter, they're smaller, there's more features, and they're just more stabbing involved. So I'd say, what would you say that's the consistency of? Okay. 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 We're stuck on overhead.
It's not
An
super
overcooked
hard.
steak.
Sure. That's like the bagel.
I think this is bagel.
This is only slightly harder though.
Yeah. You know, and then obviously the legs are
Right.
are pretty hard.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see tutorials where there's just stabbing and then more fiber and then more stabbing and like the layering and stabbing, which your approach is very different than that as far as creating the shapes and getting them on, and the stabbing that you do is the sculpting.
Right. I guess it is a little bit of a difference in style. Some people just take fluffs of wool and do all the sculpting with the needle, whereas I like to try to create shapes that are going to build my sculpture more easily, I guess, and just efficiently and consistently.
The squeezing has translated well. Fabulous.
And, you know, sometimes I see things that are a little more firmed up and I like them. But then sometimes I see things that are super firmed up and I feel like it's lost some of its like
Well,
life.
it can't be, yeah, if it can't even be like manipulated.
It just
at all,
looks too like this isn't ceramics, you know what I mean? It is wool, and I like letting the wool have a little bit of energy left.
Right. Well, and we do sometimes get questions about how do you get rid of like all the stray fiber, and I feel like everything has stray fiber. Even like the, Fiber Fairy's face, like it's not. Yeah, I mean it's smooth, but there's still there's floof everywhere because it is wool, not clay.
Okay. How your thumb touches different fingers. I think, sometimes people, when you're cooking steak, they do this is rare, this is medium, and that's well. I mean, that's another way to kind of think of it. Do you guys have fiber questions? I brought kind of an assortment to share, and we could talk about what to use when. The part of the diagram on the needle felting for beginners page is meant to do that. I like to use the example of I'm making a golden retriever because it's just one color. So that because sometimes when you're shopping for wool, it's about color and texture and technique, which is also on that page. I feel like we talk about that.
It's not just color.
It's not just color.
Not
So
just
when
wool
people
type.
say, well, what color do I need to make this dachshund or whatever? It's, I don't know what techniques the person plans on using. I like to have a core wool in a coordinating color. So for a golden retriever, I could use off-white chunky core. I could use oats. Caramel would maybe be a bit dark, but I like to have a core wool that coordinates, because when I do stab through, you don't want the pollution of, if you're felting a panther, I would not use off-white chunky core, for example. And then I like to have top coat colors. And sometimes you're putting fur on. So there's direct felting, which is how the horse is done. I'm all direct felting. Then there's shingling. We grab the borzoi. Shingling, which is I'm laying on top coat and stabbing the center 1/3 and folding it over. And so I'm building these shingles up the animal. And that covers a lot of ground, but still gives it kind of a furry look. And then there's the fur technique. Can you reach the llama? And that's where we stick on fiber that's actually just sticking straight off. This thing is so crazy, so funny. I can't wait to, this is the first one I made. I'm looking forward to making another one and getting this ready for you guys. Okay, then sticking with the golden retriever project, like let's say my fur is camel fur and I'm gonna shingle, then I would want a top coat that kind of matches. So I didn't pick these out specifically for this example, but just pretend palomino is the right thing. I could blend these two together and then I could shingle. I could have a few sections where, like maybe in his neck, this is just the fur technique. And then on his face, I want to have palomino would work, or gen tan, something that transitions from the core wool to the fur. So the right colors for that. A lot of our house carded things like the horse coats, the pelts, the skin tones, gen tan, Serafina white, they're formulated for specific things. Serafina white is meant to be the brightest white we can make that felts well. Because off-white chunky core is more ivory than this. I don't think I have some right here. Oh.
I can get it.
Oh, and someone wanted to see the old oats versus the new oats.
Oh, do we?
I'll show that as well. Yeah, I brought it up. So hopefully this shows on the screen, because sometimes you're trying to make something that's nice and white. So that's what we made Serafina white for. Gen tan is somewhere between it is kind of corey. It's a little fuzzy, and it is just such a wonderful natural tan color. And because it's a blend of fibers, it's not just like wheat is a kind of a tan, but it's just all one color because it's dyed.
Somebody said, explain top coat, please. I find it wiry and it doesn't felt well.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm doing it wrong. How would you use it?
Right. So top coats, we have the Shetland, the Corriedale. We have a few natural top coats like this Manx. And it is longer and it is wirier. And so it's for very specific things. I wouldn't often make a face with this, or even wrapping legs in tighter details, I find tricky with a really long fiber because with something like Gen Gen Tan or off-white chunky core, for example, when I'm wrapping and then I get down to the end, if I were wrapping with a top coat, it would be really hard to pull this apart.
Mm-hmm.
But because core wool, especially this one, it's still consistent, but it's shorter fibers, I can take that off easily. Because you might think, oh, a long fiber, that's going to make wrapping a leg easier, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I have any open right here, but I can try to show. Oh, here's the. So oats is a blend of 3 colors. One of them is a natural sheep gray, and this is our previous one, which I actually think is a little too light. And this is our current batch. So we're going to retake the picture of this, but you know, our fibers, we go for consistent, but there is variation sometimes. But I love this because if you're using off-white chunky core and you're making an animal that needs to transition to tan, this is a really great transition.
Somebody asked what's best to wet felt with.
So wet felting, you're going to want, I mean, really merino is the best to wet felt with. It maintains its color. It's very saturated. It doesn't fly away like something like the Manx could. The house carded bats are full of merino. This one is this? I think this is woodland or timber.
Mm-hmm.
This one's timber. Jennifer formulated and makes these, and it's full of merino and top coats. So this would be perfect to wet felt with. Wet felting with core is just a little unwieldy, I guess. It does wet felt, but it's gonna be lofty, and then you're trying to figure out exactly where it is. This is nut merino. Love this color. Merinos are great to wet felt with.
As a beginner, what wool is best to buy for practicing needle felted mushrooms or needle felted flowers?
We have a mushroom tutorial. We also have a flower tutorial. I make them in different ways. We wet felted the mushroom caps, I think. I wet felted the mushroom caps because I wanted to take advantage of wet felting. You can get a lot done at once. All those mushrooms, you know, our wet felting surface is something like 24 by 36. So you can get a lot done at once. You can get the fun things happening with neps and silk. And you get the smoothness. And then it's a construction process. And we use a lot of off-white chunky core for the stems and the structure. The flowers, we did the same thing. We wet felted our flowers. Then we used the 22 gauge floral wire, put the green on that, and then built leaves and stuff like that. So then there was the construction aspect. Off-white chunky core is your workhorse, go to learn needle felting, make shapes.
I mean, any of the cores, if you're wanting to
Any
try
of the cores,
mushrooms or flowers and you're wanting to needle felt, I would start with core top coat. When it's longer, when the staple length is longer, it can be frustrating.
This is a charcoal core. This stuff, it felt so nicely and so easily. So just as an example, we make a ball when we make bunny puffs, and Kyla last year did a dryer ball tutorial that was awesome. And if I wrap this tightly, I tied a knot. I'm wrapping tight. I'm just doing this to show you how tight you can get something without even stabbing it, because this is what core is good for.
If you are brand new and there's a beginner project that interests you, one of the great things about the supply pack is it's a way to get your hands on a variety of fibers. You'll probably get some house carded, you'll get some core and some top coats, and you'll be able to see how each of those work. Get your hands on them and see what happens when you stab them and everything.
The supply packs are great for learning fiber for that reason. All different types are in there. It's already what you need, and you're going to get the experience of handling the different types of wool and seeing how we use it. So exciting. All right, I'm really trying to fringe out this end piece so that it holds tightly, because I just told you I wasn't going to stab it.
So now you have to make sure.
Yeah, there you go. That's, I don't know, you feel it.
It's for sure here.
Yes,
maybe
back
even
there.
here.
Yeah.
It is firm and like together, not stabbed one time. Yeah, core's awesome.
Core is awesome
for that. Somebody said, how do you incorporate other fibers into needle felting? So I asked for clarification, other fibers like silk, like not wool. Pretty much if you're going to try to needle felt it, it needs to have some wool. Or
so the fur line has silk in it. It's silk, alpaca, mohair, and viscose, I think. I feel like I'm missing something, but no wool in it, because the whole point was for it to be brushable. That's what the horse's mane is. So I can take a little brush.
I blend a synthetic yarn or silk and dry felt.
Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah. So the fur won't felt. So, which is good, because you want it to be hairy, fur-like. But
you have to get it
if you want to put it on, then you need to either use a wool staple, which we do. If you watch the bunny puff tutorial, that's like the best way to see the fur technique, with the wool staple, or you have to shingle it with a wool fiber that coordinates with it.
What's most important when storing your wool?
That's like it's so personal how to do that. Like, is it by color? Is it by texture? Do you go core wool? You know, how you want to store it, how often you use it, I'd say, like what type of storage. I found that when I was really like putting things away, like in a box with a lid on it, it would sit because I need it to be more out. So I like the idea of like the door shoe hanger, and then you could put colors in that, and you can see what you have. If you don't have any introduction of moths, it's not really an issue. It only becomes an issue if something gets introduced. Yeah.
Somebody asked about suggestions or favorite way to store tools besides the fiber, like how to keep everything else.
All kinds of caddies. I find like antique things, like you might want to have your wooden tools in some kind of holder, and then I mean, I really have done, I would do a basket. I've done all different kinds of things.
For a time we had those canvas, the tool totes.
Yeah, the tool tote was nice.
Became impossible.
Cotton canvas became impossible to get,
and they
were so awesome,
so expensive. But
so that was an electrician's bag, an electrician's tool bag. So something like Harbor Freight might have that, and then you have your big compartment, which your stab it and your stash could go. Like this is like you're traveling to a friend's house and you want to bring some needle felting, and then it had pockets for all your tools. So we wanted to talk a little bit about armatures, and I can talk through that. Oh, I wanted to show the wet felting kit. Let me do that real quick before we
makeup bags.
move on. Oh yeah, makeup bags would be good. I'm not going to open this all up, but our wet felting kit, what you need is, I like a waterproof surface. Some people wet felt on like a bamboo mat. We use this heavy duty, it's actually a pool cover.
Pool solar cover material.
And it's like a bubble wrap, but it's heavy duty. And then pool noodles, we cut them in half because it was just ridiculous shipping this long thing. But there's a piece in here that you put into each end and it holds it together. And then our wall, which is what goes on top. We do have a lot of videos that have wet felting in them, so make sure to check that out. We're updating this material, or we're working on updating this material. So I just wanted to point out that I'm doing more and more wet felting. I'm really loving it. I'm loving how it's applying to my 3D sculptures, and you're going to see a lot of it. So you might want to get yourself a wet felting kit. All right, I'm gonna stack this wool up over here and go through an armature. Just, we had a lot of questions about how to figure out the size and, you know, where to start.
There's always a lot of questions on sizing up too, if you want to make something bigger or half size. Or
It's so hard to say because it's all got to be proportionate, and then it's got to be different wires, because the second I make something bigger, needs stronger wires to stand on. And I don't have like a formula for that. I figure it out and try it. Also, I feel that projects kind of have a size that they want to be. Like there's like with a painting, I'll look at something that I want to paint and my brain just goes, it should be this big. This shouldn't be something forced into a smaller space. With the 3D animals, that translates as how much detail do I want to put or not put. So back when I was only making little ornaments on pipe cleaners, I would make a lion and it would have hardly any detail. It would be like a tan shape with legs and a mane, because it's tiny and it would be very hard to get that much detail. And then likewise, the bigger you go, the more detail you have to have, or it's going to look like a cartoon. If I were to make this Borzoi life size, this amount of detail would just look dumb. Okay.
I feel like you could also make the point of your personal style, you know, depending on how you do things. You have to find your scale.
Yeah, simple and like smooth or refined, like could be a look for sure. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do or not to do, but they're asking.
Somebody asked the difference between wet felting and Nuno felting.
Nuno, yeah.
That specifically use silk, like your...
Yeah, Nuno felting is a type of wet felting, but you're pushing fine fibers usually through silk to create a new textile. Can I have the paper, please? Okay, Talbot's going to bring up a screenshot. I'm going to do the warthog because they are weird.
Okay, I swapped, and now I gotta go to it. Warthog. Okay, I'm on the multi-image page.
Okay. And so the first thing that I do is I do Google Images. And are you on just the skeleton one?
The many skeletons.
Okay.
Images.
Okay. I'll do Google Images. Okay, great. I'll look at the animal itself. But the more important thing is to look at a picture of the skeleton. And what I'm looking for in the skeleton is to see the structure of why they look the way that they look. And then someone asked a really great question about, once I add all my fiber, I've lost the shape. Like if I'm putting on fur or building out. And so how to figure out the armature with the shape. So sometimes, like on this page, for example, third row down all the way to the right, we can see the skeleton in the
Nice.
outline. And that is really helpful because you see what's bone and what's flesh and what's meat. And then you have to decide, okay, I'm making an armature, which parts are important for me to be bone? Then I would probably do some proportions by, let's see, Talbot, open up the, yeah, that's good. Open up that one. Well, let's do the one that I picked out earlier. That's the real skeleton, because then we know it's not some artist's interpretation. Well, it sort of is because someone put that together. But if we look at the real skeleton, then my next step is I'll just hold up my pencil and do things like, is there a way to have the overhead on at the same time or no with the screen share?
Yeah.
These are wacky.
They're so wacky. Okay.
We're putting Talbot to challenge.
I know. Asking for.
Do you want the screen share to be a certain size? Do you want that to be smaller? Or do you want
I guess at this point, make the screen share smaller and the overhead bigger.
Okay. What corner do you want the skeleton to be in?
Maybe top right, Kyla's side. I'm gonna try and draw this dark so you guys can see. All right, before Talbot shrunk that, I held my my pencil up to the head, and I went like this to the head, and it was 2 inches. Like I just stuck my pencil up to the computer, and this was 2 inches. So what I want to do is make proportionate decisions, not lengths. So this is one head. And then I take that measurement like that, 2 inches. You can use an actual ruler. or here, let's use the face ace. Look, 2 inches. Okay.
That's your laser eyeballs at work.
And then I'm going to hold it up to the skeleton and see what else is 2 inches. Okay, now it's smaller, but that's okay. I'm still gonna do the same thing. Now it's 1 inch on my laptop. And so what else is, let's put it this way. What else is the length of a head? Well, the foot to the, here's his weird head. And then his neck comes out like this, and then his goes up. I'm drawing this the wrong way than what I usually do. Oh, that would be amazing. Okay. You're good. I can't see anything yet anyway. Okay, this distance from the ground to the point of his shoulder is one head. I can do it backwards if it's.
It's not letting me crop because it's a source anyway.
That's okay. I don't know if if you're able to go back or yeah, that's you did it.
It's just got that black bar.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. And then from the back of his head one, two. Okay. From the back of his head to his tailbone is two heads. So 1, 2. So I know that's going to be right there. And then, oh, jeez.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
All
sorry.
right, sorry.
And then what else we got here? Yeah, his knee. What is that? This makes sense because our pelvises usually mimic our shoulder blades. Sorry, this is me just drawing in a really weird position. This comes down, and then that goes like that, that, and that. Trying to make it dark. Okay. So from here to here is one head to his butt bone, which is this kind of I'm always talking about the butt bone and the point of the shoulder being it's the same thing. And then his neck is half a head. So we just want that to be 1 inch. Then once I have that, I can decide how tall do I want this to be. So if I want him to be big, like it would be weird to me. It would be weird to make it as big as that cow, but let's grab can you grab the cow? If I want it to be as big as this cow, then I need this distance and to make it proportionate. So that is 7 inches. I'm not going to use that example because I just wouldn't make it that big.
He's gigantic.
Yeah, that would be weird. I would want it, I guess, to be more like the size of the pig that we make, which is great because then what I would do is look at that tutorial or my notes, but you guys would look at the tutorial and see what were the lengths of the wires for the pig, because that gives you a place to start in the lengths of your wires. But let's say I didn't even have that. And I want it to be about this size, like what I drew here. So that's more like, once the wool's on there, that's going to be about 5 inches tall. Then I always make my head, neck, and front legs with the same from one wire. and then we twist the shoulder area, and then the back and hind legs is another wire. Very, very often in the animal kingdom, the head and neck is the same length as the back. Just something to take note of. I know this is 2 inches. I know this is 1 inch. I know this is going to be a wire twist of some kind. Let's just give it another 1 inch. I'm going to put a point of a shoulder. I'm going to call that 1 inch, even though it probably won't be quite that long. And then I know this is one head, which is 2 inches. Then I can figure out the length of my first wire. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 2 is 14. I'm going to go a little longer just because it's not that expensive to cut off a tiny bit of wire. And it's easier to give yourself a little bit more. So I'm going to go 15.
Jean wants to know if the warthog will be before the Hugh Jackman tutorial.
Ooh, tough choice. By the way, Song Sung Blue is amazing. And someone posted recently, which is Hugh Jackman and covering Neil Diamond songs,
Okay.
which is like
Your favoriteest
two
of the world.
And freaking Kate Hudson was amazing. And then someone posted that he's being a shepherd in something else.
The sheep and the wolves.
Now, remember what I said about the back and like this might be the same, but back and hind leg wires are always longer because almost always longer because we have the shoulder twist, we might have a curve in the back, and we have more bends in the legs. But I'm still gonna measure kind of. Let's see, this is 1. I'm gonna call this 3. Yeah, because I said this was 2 heads, which would be 4 inches, and we have 1 inch here. So that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm still coming up with 7, but I'm going to make this 16. I'm going to make this 16 because I need to go that much bigger. I hope, is this helpful?
The new movie is The Sheep Detective.
Okay.
You can lay out your armature over a printout of your skeleton.
I feel like these are short, but we're going to see what happens. I'm going to leave a little bit of width in the head because they do have this like big wide head.
It is.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't even check my pig measurements, which I should do.
It is helpful, by the way. Do you want me to find the pig?
I have it.
Oh.
I'm so prepared.
You are prepared.
16 and 20, so this is a little smaller. So probably want to go up. But I'm going to do it with this anyway, so we can see if the proportions are right. So 2, we're going to twist 3 inches. Great big head.
They have a great big head.
Mm-hmm. When does the sheep movie?
I don't know.
Often in the animal armatures that I make, the spine is not going to be where the actual spine is. They often end up lower. I would definitely make this bigger, a little bit bigger than this. And I believe in the pig, I did a thing where I actually brought the head and neck out under the shoulder wire.
May 8th. It'll release May 8th.
Okay. I don't usually put a point of the shoulder in something this small. But we can get an idea of what's going on here. I'm not going to put this. So now I'm going to do the 16 and 22. But that's how I do it. I look at a skeleton, take proportions, look at other tutorials. There's a ton out there, so you're going to have a place to start in terms of wire lengths. And I should have looked at the pig thing first, but I didn't. So I think the 16 and 22 is actually going to be pretty good. Or 16 and 20 is what I had it. Let's try it. But I will also, I'm going to make this, but I am also going to talk about what decisions I would make in terms of building out those tusks and stuff.
Someone says, are the spines lower so you can build up with wool?
The spines are lower because that's just the way the armature turns out. Like for in the horse, for example, their spine is right at the top of their back, but because we wrap with wool and the way we build the armature, their spine ends up lower, so we often have to add a spine.
That's what this would be like for this.
Yeah, for this, they have these big
humps.
I don't know what that's called, those projections of the vertebrae. Like horse have that too. That's what the withers are. In the elephants, we add a spine. Like we make a hard log and put it on there to make the spine. So the armature is not always a direct translation of the skeleton. And one thing that this won't have, but I'm going to make an armature a little bit different. They have this huge occipital ridge. Yeah, and I would do that with wool. I would do that piece with wool. And I don't often make a rib cage. I do have, someone asked about a gorilla. I do have a gorilla project that I've made before and that I want to develop as a felting university because it's really complex because it has hip bones and rib cage and a movable jaw.
Spinous processus is the sticky uppy part.
Oh, okay. Okay. So still gonna go 3. And then what I was saying was in the pig, I remember usually I put this on the front of the chest, but I wanted this part of the problem here is that this is coming out over that twist. So like, let's say his head is bent that way.
Sue Bingham says you did indeed do that under with the pig.
Yeah. So I want to put that on this way. I just can't remember how to do it. Maybe I don't bend that and I go like this. You don't do it very often. And then it's only a 1.5 situation instead of a 2 situation. That's what it is. No. All right. So now this is coming out under that wire, which is going to make it way easier to have that weird low set neck. Yeah, these are too long. I don't know why these wires are so long. They are super wacky. That's going to be better. And then if I was making this, I would wire. That's better to this.
Mm-hmm. People are excited about the gorilla.
I know the gorilla is. I think I have it. Do you want to grab it? I think it's in one of those bins. Oops. If I were making this, I would definitely wire the tusks, probably 2 sets. And what I read was that they're basically extended canine teeth. And so I would take a 26 gauge and go right across this and have those come out. But like we were talking about earlier, you have to think this is going to get built out, and you have to make your tusks long enough that once all of that wool is on there, your tusks are still the length that you want them to be. Oh, this has been sitting. I'm a little.
He's got sparkle. He's got sparkle and shine.
So that it would be important to get that occipital ridge, and it would be important they have a really heavy jaw. So I might even fold a wire in half and make a lower jaw, which we do in, what do we do that in? Well, I know we do it in the horse, but
a jaw.
It looks like this. I wouldn't use pipe cleaner, but you fold this in half and then you figure out how long it should be. I mean, you're just quite literally making a jaw. And so you wrap it to get that chin and then those strong jaw. Yeah, and then it would go on like that at some point. Usually I get a little bit of fiber on and then put this on. Talbot, will you show the on the screen share? You can go back to big and show the chimp page. Someone asked about a monkey or chimp, which is fun because I haven't done that yet. I think in part because it's a little weird to me what scale to make those. But I'll show you guys the gorilla. But first I just want to show the chimp page. When I Googled chimpanzee skeleton, there was a picture compared to a human, which I just think is helpful because you can see how their legs are shorter and their arms are long. Like their proportions are different. So all of the bones are there and somewhat in the same place, but the proportions are just really different.
Oh,
yeah.
But there's no audio.
We lost our audio.
Well, sorry.
Okay.
I think there's audio.
Where's the one with the I thought there was one with the chimp and the human.
You want the specific one?
Yeah, let's look at that.
Okay. It's up.
Okay.
Is there audio?
I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay, they can hear me. There we go. Yeah, this is really, I think that image is really helpful and pretty cool to see. It looks like I'd say the legs are about 2/3 the length of human legs, but then the arms are at least the same or longer. And the the back, it looks to be about the same, shorter neck for sure. So the Google Images is your friend, and so are past tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
And printing out the skeleton image, I think, is I know some people like print it out the size they want to make it, and all those kinds of tools are good. But that's how I do it. Scaling up and scaling down, I'd say you should be able to use the proportions. So like, let's say you figured out an armature, or you use one of mine and it makes a 4-inch animal, and you want to make an 8-inch animal at the shoulder. It's not necessarily double all the wires. You would want to kind of go through that process and
Like with a
map
finished armature?
out. You're gonna have to map out the height that you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, okay, on this smaller version, Sarah twists the head 2 inches. She twists the neck 1.5 inches. I don't know. You'd have to figure out
So you'd make one as you teach it, and then work from that to scale it up,
to scale it up.
because you'd have the proportions and everything in front
Right.
of you.
So if you wanted to go 2/3 bigger, you would times everything, all of the individual proportions, by 0.33.
That's mapping.
1.33. Yes, 1.33.
Ask someone who knows math.
Yeah.
Not me.
Okay, we can go overhead and I will show the they're crazy.
He's so sparkly.
Yeah, he's insane. Okay. Yeah, so I made a rib cage because they have just such a prominent chest, and I really wanted it
Out there.
out there. He does get a he does get a lower jaw. And then I like this head style where you do this twist.
Sorry about that. Sadie hears something.
And I gave him these big, I don't even know what this is about. These big bumps. And he has long
big
hands.
gorilla shoulders.
Big gorilla shoulders. He has all his feet and toes. He has, the other thing that there is real characteristic is this pronounced hip bone and butt bones. So I made the butterfly shape of the, yeah, I'm gonna have to revisit. This has been sitting for a couple of years now. I don't remember how I did it all, but this is probably the most elaborate armature
You have notes.
I've ever made. Good, I have notes. Oh.
I think it would be easier for me to make the limbs separately and then connect them to the torso. In that case, I make the armature the same way and cut it apart.
She asking, or that's what she does?
I don't know. I think she's asking.
This is, I'm embarrassed to show this because it's not finished and it literally has been sitting around, but it's a big one. And
it's pretty good. I would not be embarrassed. It's not finished, but it's amazing.
It's fun. It's a fun one. I'm not a fan of the separate limbs because I like to move my stuff around, and I just like the integrated structure of I
Like an
know
arm might
it's
fall off.
yeah,
You're just counting on the felting.
I like that it's all integrated and I know it's going to hold up. And then it's like more work trying to make sure that head's attached and the arm's attached and the leg.
Well, then you're having to wrap and stab them in, but then it could fall off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess if it's just sitting there, it's not going to fall off. But yes, Sue Bingham loves him. He's fabulous. Imagine
So
him
you
all
can
furred
equally
out.
increase measurements to make a larger creature. Well, you're gonna maybe try it.
It does take some
I
figuring.
don't know why. I don't think I've ever like intentionally scaled up or down by going measurement. I think I would rather just figure it out from the beginning.
Bigger.
Yeah. But it should work to just make sure it's all proportionate.
Mm-hmm.
But I worry about saying times your wires by
X amount. And it's
1.33 and change all your lengths by 1.33. Maybe that works. I've just never done it. So report back if you try it. All right, I think I'm running out of talking steam, but let's we can go back to front facing and just wind down and see if there's any other questions. I feel we covered a lot.
Just waiting, just watching the chat to see if there's any questions. It is a Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And you moved 1,000 pounds of wood yesterday. How many more?
Yeah, 1,500. I'm gonna do 1,500 today or tomorrow morning.
Your gorilla looks a little bit
deltoids.
He looks like he's been out partying a little bit.
He
probably has been.
And it's fun to the gorilla too because you get to play with swax and stuff. But I am gonna try other products.
When will the Hugh Jackman tutorial be available?
I know I can't do Hugh Jackman justice. That's why.
Is the llama coat from a llama?
The llama coat, I went with alpaca. Yeah, that's fun. They're interesting buggers. They have tude, man.
Their faces are so funny.
I want to do it again because I feel like I need to get they have quite structural chiseled features with a lot of attitude. So I want to make sure that I get that. I feel like every animal has a characteristic that I sort of hone in on and want to at least get accurate or maybe amplify just a little bit. Like the warthog, I actually think I would have a lot of fun making that because they're little weirdos. Yeah, we have a nice lineup for the year, and we got the llama. I do want to do a felting university. We have the fiber fairies projects, some pretty figured out.
Fun things happening. Do we have tutorials that specialize on how to make eyes? We have an eye tutorial from quite a while ago on that techniques page.
And then each different tutorial. Animal has eyes. But yeah, I went a little bit more in detail on that eye techniques tutorial. Well, we're gonna prepare for the storm.
Snow would be so fun. Ice, yeah.
Yesterday was sunny and 50, and I got that cord of wood, and I had to just so enjoyed being outside and doing that.
It was really nice.
It felt.
We'll get there.
Amazing.
The days are getting longer.
Days are getting longer. Yep.
It was like 5 o'clock, and
Yeah, it's still light out
Yeah,
closer to 5:30.
we're getting there. How do I do horns on the belted Galloway to make it a Highland cow?
I do that like I do the reindeer and the goat. So I take a wire, a 22 gauge, and go. Can you pass me the cow? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I can answer that question too. I go once I get not the face quite so finished, but I have the at least have the armature wrapped. I put the center on top of the head and then I pull each wire this way and then so that they're coming off where horns would come off. That's how I did the reindeer and the goats. And you can see the goat tutorial is one of the free ones. So you can check that out. And that's how I would do that. In terms of putting fur on, I think that that warthog picture that we looked at that had the armature on top of the body gives you a good idea of how much room you have for all the flesh and fur. I wouldn't use, you could pass me the bulldog. I wouldn't use a fur technique on a short-haired animal like this. I would use a direct felting technique. I didn't even use a shingle technique on him because I can't work that small. It wouldn't be realistic. Now, llamas are totally wacky and their fur's all fallen out in every which way. So I shingled most of this and then just put a few spots where he had fur, but it's proportionate to the build. So it's you can't make something small and then put a disproportionate amount of fur on it because you're just going to lose your animal in that. I don't really know how to say that other than that or make a tutorial for it. But I think the more that you make things and try different things, the pelt technique, like the chipmunk is made with the pelt technique, the more you're going to be able to gauge how that works. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in today. Hopefully we answered some questions, old and new, and got to a bulk of what was brought up. It's definitely so much to learn, and we do have so much out there. I encourage you to dive into the website and the YouTube channel because we have, oh gosh, 15 years.
It's a lot.
13 years. We have a lot under our belts now at this point, and we've been putting out videos consistently for so many years. So definitely enjoy them, learn from them, try different things, do your own things, experiment with wires, with fiber, with finishing products. And if I would think that anyone else's experience would be like mine, where it's just, you just realize, oh, I can do this and I can do this, and it grows and grows. So
Yep.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Stay